Hi there, I'm Rex King, and welcome back to another episode where I review films currently in theaters. Today I'm talking about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves was directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. And it's based off the popular game series Dungeons & Dragons. Uh, the movie follows your standard basic campaign. A group of misfits have to band together to basically stop a threat that could potentially destroy their world, and so on. This film has all the beats it needs to be a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It has all the different classes of characters you would have in a campaign, and it has all the feelings of a group of people coming together and trying to overcome a threat that individually they couldn't overcome. And honestly, this film is pretty standard and pretty boring. Like I said, it checks all the boxes for a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It just doesn't do anything else. The story relies heavily on humor, and it doesn't always land, making the film come across as bland and boring at times. I get what they were trying to go for with having the feel of it being a campaign and the different beats that a campaign would follow, but there are times where our characters are trying to get an object, and that object comes into play maybe once in the movie, and then it gets completely forgotten about. So there are a lot of times in the film that story elements feel superfluous. And then we have the characters, and none of these characters are all that interesting to me. Especially our lead, played by Chris Pine. He's a bard, not really a action-oriented person. He says that he plans the plan, but he doesn't do a fantastic job at it. Actually, I don't really understand why any of these characters are following him. Some of them seem to be following him because of the fact that he cares about his daughter. Others are out for revenge against the person he's trying to get the treasure from and his daughter back from. But it doesn't really explain why they would ally with him over going with another plan or just trying to accomplish the goal themselves. I really don't see why anyone follows this guy, because he's just kind of an idiot. He doesn't do anything or really contribute to the overall plan that he comes up with. So at the end of the day, it feels like these characters are just following him because the script says to follow him, and that's kind of lame. All the performances are fine. Chris Pine does an amazing job as our lead character. Though I don't find the character interesting, he manages to bring out the most laughs of everyone in the cast. Everyone else is doing a fine job. It just feels like they're playing one-note characters and not full-on realized beings, which is a shame. The visuals, the CGI in this movie was very, very much a miss, and that's a problem because this movie deserved a lot better. I really wanted to be invested in the Dungeons and Dragons world. I like Dungeons and Dragons. I just didn't like the overall feel of this movie, and the visuals didn't help matters as the CGI was kind of bad. The music is fine. There's really nothing to talk about with this score. It's your standard adventure fare that we've heard a dozen times in a dozen other movies, and it's fine. At the end of the day, this movie does check all the boxes for a Dungeons and Dragons movie and hits all the beats it needs to hit. But it doesn't bother to go further than that, and it really could have. As a result, there were a lot of moments where I was really bored in this film because I kind of predicted where it was going to go at the onset of the film, and that's a problem. Not helped by the fact that the trailers showed a lot of this movie, and therefore you knew a lot of what was going to happen before you went in. And usually I try to avoid trailers, but since I go to the movie theater every week, I am inevitably going to see trailers for movies. And I saw a lot of trailers for this one, and they all pretty much showed everything that was going to happen, and therefore I just was bored. So, at the end of the day, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I really wanted to like this one. I am a decent fan of Dungeons and Dragons, but I really just couldn't get into this movie, and I just didn't find myself attached to any of the characters. So, at the end of the day, this film is just kind of a dud for me. Now, if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons and want to see a movie just do what you've wanted to see a Dungeons and Dragon movie do, check all those boxes and feel like a Dungeons and Dragons movie should feel, definitely give this one a watch. You'll probably like it, maybe more than I did, but I just really found myself uninterested in what was going on screen. Anyway, that's what I thought about Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. What did you think about it if you've seen it? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.